Now, let me ask you something else. Ballpark, what does something like this cost to fight?
Well, there are different ways of fighting it. The way that we approached the case, and in a sense, because we were first, and in aggressively defending against a defamation suit brought by a group like this, we sort of, we were a little bit in uncharted waters. I mean, defending a defamation case, is not so unusual. They're filed every day, but this subject matter was unusual, and so we had to sort of search around a little bit and work at creating effective information requests and so forth. But you can easily get into six figures.
Yeah, and I don't think that Whitehead was any particularly wildly rich guy.
Well, as I said, Mr. Whitehead was a U.S. Navy enlisted man. He was a career enlisted man.
There you go. Now,
which is why, he would not have had the funds to defend the case in the way that really it needed to be defended, which is, again, why, I want to give Greenberg such a pat on the back, because the firm really stepped up and did the right thing. Throughout the 1990s, CAIR was working in tandem with organizations that were funneling money to Hamas. As late as September of 2001, in fact, CAIR was actively using its website to funnel money to the Holy Land Foundation,
which we know
is a Hamas front.
Right.
When the head of Hamas, the spiritual leader, Sheikh Yassin, was appropriately terminated by the Israelis, and I believe it was 2004.
Yes.
CAIR put out a statement condemning this action and calling Yassin a respected Muslim religious leader.
And he was the most bloodthirsty savage. He was a barbarian.
He provided the religious justification, the religious patina, if you will, for blowing up children at nightclubs and in pizza parlors. This is really a man who I think perhaps in a more rational time would have been recognized as just a heinous murderer. The extent of the denial about who CAIR, the principles of CAIR are, and other Muslim groups, and what their agenda is and what they desire is simply staggering. I will tell you that believe it was earlier in April, I think also this year, the New York Times did a front page article about CAIR that essentially said, well, nobody's ever convicted CAIR of anything wrong, and it really was a puff piece. I called the reporter and I said to him, I was very surprised to see this article talking about these allegations when we actually had a lawsuit, and I've got boxes of documents I'd be glad to show you, that would demonstrate that the allegations that you say there is no basis for are in fact, accurate and well documented and have been for years. And his answer was, oh, well, we're really not interested in that because we didn't want to get down in the weeds with this story.
Well, what do they want to do? How long are they going to continue to abdicate their role as public servant?
But, shortly thereafter, and within a period of weeks, that CAIR was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in a federal terrorist financing case down in Dallas, Texas. Look, the word on CAIR, the facts on CAIR have been out there in the public domain, as I said, pretty much since 1994, 1995. And it wouldn't take a reporter but 15 or 20 minutes to do the investigation and realize this is not a grassroots civil rights group. CAIR, that is not what CAIR was about. It was formed by people who came from outside the United States to pursue a political agenda and to help mobilize support for a particularly, what I call, frankly, a foreign ideology. Its funding primarily comes from outside the country. And if you look at their membership numbers, at least as based on the data they report to the government and their tax filings, the Milwaukee Chamber of Commerce has orders of magnitude times more members. So you have to ask yourself, why do these people get the the media attention, and why do government officials give them the time of day? What is CAIR about? Why is CAIR here, and what are they doing?
Well, they want Sharia.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's based on their public statements. Certainly, the CEO Omar Ahmad, who was through the 1990s and early until about 2003, he was the CEO, and Awad was the COO of CAIR. And he famously said in 1998 that Islam isn't in America to be equal to any other faith, but to become dominant. And they've been saying that there are 7, 8, or 9 million Muslims in the United States since, as far as I can tell, sometime about 1993, 1994. And the number that gets thrown around the most, as far as I can tell, is 7.
Right.
I think the reason for that, honestly, and I can't point to a document that would prove it, but just from context and whatnot, I believe the reason they say that is because they believe there are 6 million Jews in the United States, and there have to be more Muslims than Jews in the United States. There are at least 2 statements that I've been able to verify as reported by Islam Online, which is a relatively mainstream Islamic English language web portal, where you have CAIR's officials explicitly blaming pro-Israel groups and Jews for a tidal wave of anti-Muslim sentiment sweeping the United States. What I try and do when I speak to people, when I run into somebody who says, I don't know anything about CAIR other than that they claim they're the Muslim NAACP, is first start out by asking them what they understand the NAACP to be, and show them then and demonstrate to them that really what CAIR is about is something entirely different. It's not a question from CAIR's standpoint of securing rights for a group of Americans who are operating under a legal disability, which is what the point of the NAACP was. As Mr. Awad himself says, there's probably no minority in the history of this country, none, that has been more advantaged than Muslims. I spoke to one reporter for a major Washington newspaper, you can probably guess which, who I had reason to talk to about this case, and who basically advised me that they would never print the information or follow up on the information about CAIR that we had uncovered in this lawsuit. And when I asked him why, he said it's because Muslims are an oppressed minority in this country. And I will tell you, I went and spoke before one Jewish group that had a large number of very well-meaning people, nice liberal people, and they're the ones who are most uncomfortable with the information I offer to them. And again, I do it very dispassionately, and most all of it is straight out of the mouths of the CAIR people. And when they're presented with that information, they're really left with only 2 alternatives: one, to ignore it and stick their heads in the sand and hope it goes away,
right,
or 2, to act on it. There's a third, which is to try and discredit the messenger, but, it's very hard to do in my case, quite honestly. When I do my presentations, I come and I give people all the source documents. And I've invited at every single presentation, I've said to people, listen, I'm trying to be as accurate as possible. Here's the source information. If I've mischaracterized it, or if you think that I'm somehow not being fair, please let me know. And I've not heard from anybody, and I've spoken to, I've done this, 8, 10 times already. What we've created in this country is unique, and it's precious, and it's darn well worth standing up for. And the people will do it. We will win. I believe in my heart down, to my toes that we will win. It's just a question of when and what it's going to take to get Americans of goodwill mobilized. And, CAIR is a symptom.
Yes.
CAIR is a symptom. And, it's something that needs to be addressed. It's only, it's only it's part of a larger problem. And, like I said, we will, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, as long as we put the information out and people act as good citizens, we will win.